before the video starts, let's have a look at some of your comments. In response to my last video, creepy photos of real dead bodies, Alexandra Keck wrote, "If I knew I would have my eyes painted when I died in the Victorian era to make me look alive, I would either bury myself or try to make a serum that made me live until the 20th century. Jeez, the things people would do. That's really unsettling." Thanks for that, Alexandra. Absolutely, very unsettling indeed. And Denise Nicole wrote, "The creepy piano in the background is too creepy. It scares me every time you talk about someone different." Denise Nicole, I also create the music for all my YouTube videos, so it's fantastic to know my creepy piano sounds scare you so much. Nightmare Expo wanted to give something back after reaching a well-deserved 100,000 subscriber milestone on his YouTube channel. So he asked for smaller YouTube horror channels to create their best 30-second short for a top 20 showcase on his channel. He then hand-picked 20. Nightmare Expo, thank you so much for your awesome support and for including my channel,
Bedtime Horror Stories from the Clown,
in the top 20 creepy YouTube horror channels. I'll include a link to Nightmare Expo's top 20 at the end of this video so you can explore other creative and inspiring creepy YouTube horror channels. And please make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. Tell him I sent ya. Here's Moonlight Girl's comments. "Oh my, Nightmare Expo sent me here. To be honest, your video stood out to me the most." Wow, that's a wonderful comment, Moonlight Girl. Welcome to my YouTube channel. CPU Meme Heart said, "I ran into this video on Nightmare Expo's showcase and it was so good I had to subscribe. Brilliant work." CPU Meme Heart, you are very welcome. Thank you for your comment. Now Something Right wrote this to me. "You deserve so much more than you have. Great things will come to you. Just you wait." Something Right, you are very kind to say that. Thank you so much. And the last one for now is from the brilliant channel Don't Turn Around. He made a comment to my new YouTube trailer. Your comment is appreciated. "I'll evict the spider demon nesting in your head later today, and she'll never crawl inside your ear again. And don't worry, her recently hatched demon spider babies will also follow her on her way out." Now it's time for 7 death row inmates who are happy to die. More than 1,400 men and women have been executed in the USA in the last 40 years. Roughly 145 of these people have abandoned their appeals. They wanted to be executed. In the legal community, they're known as volunteers. There's a variety of explanations why death row prisoners choose execution. Some simply believe that their death is a fair punishment for their crimes. Others have a desire to be born again in their next life. And many of them just don't see the value in living in brutal prison conditions, which include solitary confinement with virtually no human contact. Number 1. In 1976, this man was sentenced to death in Utah for the murders of a gas station attendant and motel clerk. He told a judge at the time, "Unless it's a joke or something, I want to go ahead and do it." He was shot by a firing squad in January 1977. Number 2. This man walked into a jewellery store and pulled a gun on the owner and demanded money. They both struggled and the owner was shot dead. During a 1983 court hearing, he said, "If they don't want to take me down there and execute me, I'll make them shoot me." He then attempted to do just that, charging at a deputy US Marshal shouting, "Shoot me!" who straight away shot him. He survived and was executed by lethal injection 2 years later in 1985. His last statement is as follows: DJ, Laurie, Dr. Wheat, about all I can say is goodbye, and for all the rest of you, although you don't forgive me for my transgressions, I forgive yours against me. I am ready to begin my journey, and that's all I have to say. Number 3. This man was executed in Florida's electric chair for the torture killing of a furniture store owner whose body was stuffed in a homemade box and dumped into a river. On the 11th of August 1984, he was asked if he had any last words. He gave a slight grin and said, "My family's love has been my strength. That's all. Goodbye." Then he shut his eyes tightly as guards put a gag over his mouth and a black flap over his face. His fists clenched as the hooded executioner turned on the electricity at 10:03 a.m. His chest heaved upward and the muscles in his arm and neck bulged. Light smoke came from an electrode on his lower right leg and his skin turned pale. 2 doctors checked and pronounced him dead 4 minutes later. On to number 4. This man got his wish to be executed in 2015 for striking and killing a police lieutenant with an SUV during a chase back in 2009. Speaking quiet and quickly, he said, "I hope this execution helps my family and also the victim's family. This was never meant to be. Sure, beyond my power, I can only walk the path before me and make the best of it. I'm sorry for putting you all through this. I am sorry. I love you. I am ready. May we all go to heaven." As the drugs took effect, he took 2 deep breaths, then 2 shallower breaths. Then all movement stopped. Number 5. This man was a Navy veteran and former nurse technician with no other violent crimes on his record. In the midst of a custody dispute, he parks the family minivan in front of his estranged wife's home. He doused the inside with gasoline and set it on fire with their 2-year-old daughter Maggie strapped in her car seat. He planned to die in the blaze with his daughter but jumped from the van when it exploded. Firefighters who rushed to the scene asked him if anyone else was inside, but he refused to answer. He believed that after he died he would be reunited in heaven with his dead daughter and his first wife. He had written a suicide note in which he said he hoped his estranged wife Karen would live in pain for the rest of her life. He admitted being guilty and waived appeals. Then in September 2002, before his lethal injection, he smiled, blew kisses at his family, then told them he loved them and that it was over. Number 6. This man, a convicted killer, has been granted the legal right to insist on his right to be executed. He was found guilty of beating to death his girlfriend's mother with a hammer and baseball bat in 1981. And then in 2003, with another inmate, he stabbed a prisoner 84 times and crushed his skull. His execution was originally delayed in 2011, then a new execution date was set for 2017, which didn't happen. One reason why he wants to be executed, he said, "On death row you never see the stars." It's time for number 7. In 2003, this man pleaded guilty to kicking in the door and killing his neighbours who were a married couple. Before killing his neighbours, he phoned them and said, "Happy New Year, I'm going to kill you." One of his victims, the wife, managed to call the police, and in the background the operator heard the murderer say, "Party time's over, bitch," followed by the pop-pop of the gunshots. Fortunately, the murdered couple's 14-year-old son survived 2 gunshot wounds to his shoulder, while their 10-year-old daughter was unharmed because the murderer could not turn on the lights in her bedroom. When he was on death row, in a letter to his attorney, he said, "I do not want to go on living in this hellhole. He had to wait until October the 5th, 2016 for his execution. Laid out in the Texas death chamber with an IV in his arm, he declined to give a last statement. At 6:23 p.m, a lethal dose started running through his veins. He was pronounced dead at 7:01 p.m. If you haven't already, slam your finger down on that subscribe button, then click on the bell icon at the top right and turn your notifications on. I'll be knocking on your window later, so try not to scream.